Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of college basketball. It's officially feast week, and the MTE tournaments have begun, but some have already wrapped up, like the Baha Championship, where Purdue competed along with Memphis, Wake Forest, and number 15 Texas Tech. It was a very exciting 2 days of games, so there's plenty to analyze. But without further ado, let's run it. The Boilermakers came into this week winners of their last four Feast Week tournaments and showed no intention of breaking that streak. There was a lot of chaos in Game 1 between slippery floors, wildly confusing calls, and some chippiness throughout, but Purdue got the job done with an 80-71 win against Memphis. Playing on back-to-back days, they took on number 15 Texas Tech the following night and their All-American hopeful tandem of JT Toppin and Christian Anderson. Let's just say it was all Boilermakers in that one, with a final score of 86-56 to take home the Baha Championship. But let's dive in. Starting with the Memphis game, this was a bit more of a battle than I would have liked. Memphis jumped out to a hot start with a couple of threes and a dunk from Aaron Bradshaw, and all of a sudden it was 13-4 Tigers 5 minutes in. We would chill out a bit though, working our way back throughout the course of the first half with the help of a bit of a TKR takeover. He was big in pulling us back into this game in the first half while shots just weren't falling for Braden or Fletch, especially from deep. But even as Purdue pulled into a bit of a lead, Memphis just wouldn't let us run away with it. They kept making just enough shots to keep this within arm's reach and would have even had a lead at halftime if it were not for a near half-court heave from Braden Smith that banked home to put Purdue up 36-35 at half. The second half was much more like the usual from Purdue, with CJ Cox coming to life with two early threes, which helped Fletch get in rhythm and knock in a few of his own. Braden Smith may have struggled from the floor, but he was as prolific of a playmaker as ever, facilitating so much offense through the second half and ending up with 11 assists on the day. Jacobson came in and did his usual couple of lob dunks and reeled in a few rebounds, and CJ and Fletcher really helped close this game out for us down the stretch. It was great to see CJ finally get going and prove his scoring and shot making ability again. We hadn't seen much of that yet this year. His 18 points were crucial in Purdue securing the win with a final score of 80-71. On to the next day with number 15 Texas Tech. It's never easy to play back-to-backs, but it's important to get that practice and see how the team responds for conference tournament play in March and hopefully the NCAA tournament. And let's just say Purdue had a response. This was a battle for the first 10 minutes, honestly, exactly how I thought it would go. But I did note that it really was only neck and neck because Tech was nailing most of their threes. In fact, Donovan Atwell started a perfect 3 for 3 from deep. Lo and behold, the three stopped falling and Purdue took over. It went from 20-20 at the 9.5 minute mark in the first half, all the way to 49-26 at halftime, with a barrage of threes for Braden Smith, CJ Cox, and Fletcher Lawyer, with a couple of buckets down low from TKR and Clough for fun. At one point during that stretch, Purdue was on a 20-0 run over the course of 6 whole minutes of game action. We just completely deflated them, and that would only continue into the second half. The lead would get to as high as 31 after a quick 8-0 run to start the second half, too. And from there, the Boilermakers would really coast the rest of the way. They got the opportunity to rest guys like Braden Smith and TKR significantly more than usual and give guys like Jacobson, Meyer, Benter, and Harris each over 15 minutes. And they didn't even let the lead slip. After a wild and emphatic performance, Purdue would walk away as the Baha champions, winners of 5 holiday tournaments in a row with a final score of 86-56. Heading over to the top performers, we're going with the averages for Purdue. First of all, got to be Fletcher Lawyer. He averaged 15 points on around 5 of 11 shooting, 3 of 7 from 3, with around 3 rebounds, an assist, and 3 turnovers per game. Secondly is Oscar Clough. He had 13 points on 5 of 6 shooting on the floor with 11 rebounds, about 1.5 assists, and 1.5 blocks between the two. For Memphis, now we're getting into actual individual game scores, had to be led by Doug McDaniel. He was a bit of a force out there. He ended up with 18 points on 7 of 15 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3, with 6 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and a turnover. And that was with him dealing with a little bit of leg issues and kind of hobbling around out there at times. Behind him is Zach Davis. He had 11 points on just 2 of 5 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3, adding on 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block as well. In the Texas Tech game for them, lo and behold, it makes sense. It's their 2 All-Americans. First of all, JT Toppin ended up with just 15 points on 6 of 13 shooting, 0 for 3 from three. Not really sure why he took all three of those. Maybe he's made them at a higher clip in previous games, but he did not look good taking those in this game. But he added on 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, and 2 turnovers onto that. Secondly, of course, Christian Anderson. He only had 13 points on 5 of 15 shooting, 3 for 10 from three, so he was chucking them. And he added on 2 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and 3 turnovers. But going into the key team points for Memphis and in their game, it was the 3-point scoring. Memphis played a tough game and they kept it close for a lot of it, but their shooting from the outside would have made a huge difference in trying to change the momentum of this game. They only went 4 for 19 from deep on the game. And to me, as they are now a 1-4 team, that puts them at a fork of two paths. Keep shooting and hope your percentages go up, or change your offensive game plan and try to get to the basket more. When they did try to get in the basket, they had decent success, going 21 for 40 from 2-point range, getting 15 offensive rebounds and multiple putbacks, and getting to the free throw line a lot, going 17 for 25 from the free throw line, only good for 68%, and that would have also helped them a lot if they knocked in a couple more. Something definitely needs to change for this team because this is their worst start to the season in a long time. And secondly, it's Aaron Bradshaw. Bradshaw is an interesting character and story. He was just as interesting in this game as well. A former 5-star recruit, top 10 in his class, starts off at Kentucky before transferring to Ohio State, and now at his third stop at Memphis. Never really establishing himself and really being a bit of a nutcase, just as he was in this game. He has the talent. I truly believe that. In just 9 minutes, he managed to get 7 points on 3 of 4 shooting, including 1 for 1 from 3, but fouled out in those 9 minutes because he lost his temper after he got bumped by Clough coming into the lane, laid down flat on the floor for a few seconds trying to get the call, and then flung himself up and got into Clough's face, which was enough to get him the technical and finish his night real early. Memphis could have really used him as a strong 7'1" center that could put up a fight against Clough and TKR, since they combined for 23 and 19 against the rest of Memphis's front court. So hopefully he learns from that game because the Tigers will need him if they want to right this ship as the year goes on. Heading over to Texas Tech in that game starts off with the stars just not really shining. Going into this game, these two were averaging 23.5 and 18.8 points per game, respectively, and they are the engine that makes the Red Raiders run. Early on, it was the shooting from Atwell that really kept them in the game, and as that went on, that completely fizzled out, and neither of these two were on top of their game to even make it a game. Now, Purdue did guard both of these guys well and make their life tough, but Toppin really shouldn't have been taking those threes, like I said earlier, and he obviously made none of them, and none of them were that close either. And Anderson didn't really shot hunt unless it was really just squaring up for 3, and those weren't falling either since he only went 3 for 10. Both of them combined ended up with 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists, which would be a great stat line for someone like Toppin individually, but not what they needed out of their 2 megastars to keep up with the talent and shooting that Purdue has across the board. And secondly, it's death by deep ball. Memphis may have struggled from deep, but at least they kept it under 20 attempts. It felt like the Red Raiders' only answer to their struggles was more threes. We mentioned Anderson's 3 for 10, but after starting 3 for 3, Donovan Atwell did not make another one for the rest of the night, ending 3 for 9 from beyond the arc. But Jalen Petty really had to take the cake in 34 minutes off the bench, which is wild minutes for coming off the bench, by the way. But he ended the game 2 for 10 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3. As a team, it all added up to just 8 for 34, or 24%. Now, Texas Tech is a good shooting team. Even with this performance, they still averaged 35% as a team, so it really just wasn't their night, I guess. But heading over to Purdue starts off with their new rebounding identity. Even in the somewhat ugly game against Memphis, the Boilermakers still managed to out-rebound them 37-34. And they just completely dominated Texas Tech on the boards 43-25. This is arguably the single reason Purdue has looked so dominant since TKR's return. They simply rebound the ball so much more aggressively and like they want it more. TKR himself has had a big effect, averaging almost 12 rebounds per game in his 4 games back, and Clough has only gotten better with each game, looking more comfortable. But outside of that, it's been a much more solid team effort. Jacobson averages a little bit more than 4 rebounds per game off the bench. Braden is looking more aggressive himself, averaging almost 4, and even Benter averages just over 4 rebounds himself. Now, his 2 games starting in TKR's place helped a bit with those numbers, but it shows that this is a team that rebounds way better than they did before, much better than they did even in the preseason and the first 2 games of this regular season. This is the difference maker that makes them the best team in the country right now. And secondly, it's Bahamas CJ Cox. CJ Cox was quiet for the first couple of games of the season, regardless of being in the starting lineup, but he reminded everyone why he's the 5th starter in these 2 games in the Bahamas. Across both games, he averaged 14 points per game, shot 6 for 10 from 3 combined between the two, and overall looked exactly like the wing scorer and shooter that this team needs next to all of our different playmakers in the starting lineup. It was flashes of the confidence we saw last year at times when he got hot, but to do it 2 games in a row shows he got comfortable playing in that ballroom down in the Bahamas. I know we can't expect him or other role players to shoot perfectly and look unstoppable every game. It's going to bounce between guys as to what role player steps up. But we know just how capable he is, and hopefully this opens the door to more opportunities as an ancillary scorer next to the rest of our guys in the starting lineup. And lastly, it's balance. Another huge difference between last year and this is the balanced scoring attack. We're no longer asking Braden TKR to average 20, Fletch to average 5 threes a game. Those guys can have off nights and we're just fine. Braden was not a scorer in either of these games. In fact, I'd go as far to say that he struggled. Yet the other 4 starters had double figures in the Memphis game, and when he was able to get 10 points against Texas Tech, he had 6 other guys join him in double figures. 6. Clough led the team in scoring with just 15 points in a game where we put up 86 as a team. I mean it, and so does everyone else when we say that Purdue can beat you from anywhere. Any given game, someone can step up. It can be another scorcher from Fletch, a CJ Cox firestorm, or an all too common TKR takeover where we see flashes of his unstoppable low post game. That's what makes this team different. And that's what makes them considered the #1 team in the entire country. Well, that was a fun 2 games in 2 days, but the boys will get a bit of a rest before Eastern Illinois will visit Mackey for a Black Friday Classic at noon Eastern on Big Ten Network. Hopefully, they can get lots of rest, enjoy Thanksgiving with family like the rest of us, and get right back to business handling the Panthers. But that's all I've got for today. Always great to lift another trophy in November, but the work has only begun. More fun games coming up in the month of December, and maybe even the return of a channel favorite series. Let me know what you think of this tournament and what your favorite moment was throughout these games. But if you want more from us, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm out.